uh, trying to make a self-centered system not self-centered. Yeah, and that inherently fails, I feel. So the message of non-duality or not two in my experience is you what sees from a self-centered point of view is not you, essentially. It's a mental system which is conditioned to see from a self-centered point of view. So when the world is seen through a self-centered point of view, it's set up in that way, essentially. Yeah, that's why this is a dualistic experience. There's a sense of subjectivity here, and that's pointing to a bunch of objects out there. Yeah? People are going to see through that lens unless they hear a different option because it's presupposed that way. The head already has you as a body, as separate from all the other bodies. And that's its condition, that's the program of it. So it's not going to go beyond that. I'm not going to take the sense of J and make it into a system that doesn't see from a self-centered point of view yet. So the mental system can only see from the point of view of me. And then, like it says in the big book, then there's self-seeking, self-pity, all of these other things that come out after that. Yeah, but those are based on the root of the issue or the exact nature of the wrong, as they say in AA, which is self-centeredness. So there's something in the center, and it's a sense of me, essentially. And that sense of me is centered on itself as well. So the head is really only ever thinking about its own position. Now, there's a feeling or a sense of individuality, meaning that I'm doing that. Yeah? So that's what the message of not two corrects a little bit. Whatever pops up as two, so the sense of being the subject to a bunch of objects would put you in the position of two-ness. You are not that movement, essentially. That's not your nature, let's say. That's a conditioned movement after. So the world is going to present from the view that it's seen from because it doesn't have any meaning. The world is not doing anything, essentially. The head is giving the world meaning, and then there's a bunch of stuff happening. So when you see like a world getting more and more separated, that's right. It's because the human is becoming more and more self-centered. Yeah. So the world is only reflecting what's going on in the mind, in the head, let's say. Yeah. So when it becomes more fragmented, it's because the people are becoming more self-centered. And then there's certain aspects of that which you can see are like hyper that way. Let's see. Say, yeah. So now, like, let's say politically, the United States used to be everywhere, and now it's like starting to come in on itself. It's starting to separate itself now quite vastly from other whatever countries or whatever. Yeah. Uh-huh. So you can see how the view of that will begin to separate it more from everything else. Yeah. Now, from an addict's point of view, self-centeredness of the mental system isolates them. And isolation is usually what kills an alcoholic for the most part. Isolation is like a very primary problem for an alcoholic because the head is super self-centered. It's thinking about itself all the time. And because of that, it's separating itself from everything else. So I'm gonna stay away from everything else and I'm just gonna try to keep it good here, yeah. But then it turns on itself usually and then they're isolated. So that's in AA, they say go to meetings, get out, talk to people, call sponsors and stuff to avoid that isolation. But it still all comes down to self-centeredness. So the basis of that, just so we're clear on it, there's something that is only thinking about itself. That would be the mental system, and it would be under the label of you or me. Yeah? You are not that me. A lot of contemporary spiritual ideas are saying we're going to change that me and make it into a non-self-centered me. And your head cannot do that. It will only fail at doing that because it's a dualistic system. So that will continue to fail. And hopefully it does, because then you will see or give up, essentially, because the failure will take you to an end where you're just like, this is never going to work. That's a great success to see that it's going to fail. Because trying to have J become not self-centered is not going to happen. And the more J tries to not become self-centered, the more self-centered that movement is, because now it's just J doing more J again. Huh? This is why meditation and things can become super self-centering. So people sit down to do meditation because they heard somebody say everybody should meditate, and now they're fucking losing their minds. Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because they were already self-centered, and now they're sitting down and thinking about how self-centered they are, which is more self-centeredness. Yeah. So now they're really seemingly stuck in this. But they are not what is self-centered. That's the whole point of these talks, or the message of not to. Yeah. For the system which is self-centered, you are not that system. That's in a way the solution, is that there's no problem to start with. If you are that system, then you are going to spend tons and tons of money and years and time trying to get out of that system, but self cannot get out of self. So you're going to hit a ceiling pretty quick. Yeah. And then all the compassion and peace and silent space that you're trying to become, perhaps it's already there when you see you're not what's trying to become it. Yeah. Meaning you are already the open space of whatever, non-judgment. That's the other one that people are really striving to get. I'm going to become non-judgmental. But as a body, you're not, because this is a dualistic system and it's made of judgment. That's how it survives, yeah, by judging that it's not a wall, essentially, or whatever, not a car, rather than walking in front of the car. So this message is a seeing of what you're not, essentially, or in self-inquiry. When something pops up in your experience, you ask, who does that arise to? And the answer is always me. So the self-centeredness is constantly presented to you over and over and over again through the word me. Yeah. And if you walk through your day and use self-inquiry, or just that question, who is this arising? Who wants the coffee? Who is mad at the partner? Who needs a better house? Who needs a worse house? Who doesn't want the kids around? Who does want the kids around? It all comes back to you. Yeah, me. Well, that me is a sense of subjectivity, which is posing itself as the God of your life. Yeah, everything revolves around the planet me. It's like the Saturn planet we were talking about, and then there's rings around Saturn. Well, the planet is me, and everything else revolves around it because of the me. That me is getting all of its power from what's before it, the space in which it arises, which let's call it awareness, for lack of a better term, or Buddha nature, or whatever. Yeah, you can't really put a name on the nameless, but you understand. So that me, if it's getting listened to and identified with, then there's a lot of problems to fix. Yeah, based on the body. Because when your head says me, it says body, really. Me is a body. Yeah. Uh, there's a lot of problems to fix when you're being lived or identified as that body, because the body and the mind also work on a duality, which they highlight in Buddhism a lot, which is greed and aversion. So essentially wanting and then unwanting. Yeah. So greed and aversion are like a constant movement of the mental system. You either want something or you want to get out of something, let's say. Yeah, that's what the body and the head wants to do. I need to get out of this situation, and I have to get into this situation. And then you get into a different situation, and then you want into the next one. It just keeps going. Yeah. So this is kind of like the operation of the head. It's trying to get out of that and into that, because it's a dualistic movement. Yeah. That's not going to stop, essentially, because that's what the head does. It's a system of greed and aversion. Yeah. You are not the system, is the thing. Mm. But a lot of spiritual practice is approached in the vessel that I am the body to start with. And therefore, now I need to try to become unself-centered. And that's going to fail. That's the beauty of the 12 steps. It says right on step 2 of 12, we're going to start moving faith away from self-centeredness immediately. And just right in the book itself, self-centeredness is the problem. It's very clear. Yeah? Uh-huh. And then if you read other little translations of that book, it seems to leave that message quite quickly. Yeah, because you can't really, it's not a very sellable message when you tell people self-centeredness is the problem. Yeah, because usually what happens is people come to things from the view of self-centeredness and they want to get some shit from that. Yeah, so I'm going to meditate a lot and then I'm going to become the compassionate one. Yeah, I'm going to become this. I'm going to unbecome that, and I am going to unbecome this. But the I that is doing that is a programmed conditioned sense. It's a movement which you're not doing because there's no doer in here. So that I that thinks it's going to get out of this and into this is going to be sadly mistaken when it seemingly fails. And then it's going to go, okay, I have to do more retreats and more shit to try to get out or change myself, let's say, yeah? All of that is being approached from the idea that you are a brain and a body to start. That you are the word me, essentially. Yeah. And it's not going to become an un-me. It's going to be a me. Yeah. But you are before that. So before the self-centered system is a very like open awareness, let's say, or open listening. Not listening with the ears. This listening is like everywhere, inside and outside the body all at once. Yeah. So that level of listening doesn't have an opinion from a point of self in space, let's say. And then something pops up in that open space, which is the me, and that seemingly pops up in this body, and then the world is based on the me. So when you see a self-centered world or a very separate world, that would give you a clue to what's happening to the individual, yeah, within that space. They're becoming hyper self-centered. So now there's a new epidemic of anxiety and fucking craziness, and everybody's trying to get out of that as it, and it doesn't work. This is why it keeps getting worse. Yes, it continually gets worse. And then they go, oh, well, I read these 10 books. Yeah, but all those 10 books are based on changing a self-centered system which can't change. Yeah. And also, you are not that self-centered system. So most of those books and things have you at a starting point which has got you failing to start with before you even open the first cover of that book. Yeah. A great example of that is books that are talking about or ideas that are saying, I am going to become nowness, let's say. Yeah. I'm going to stabilize the mental system in the present moment. The mental system cannot do that. Your mental system is based on the past, for one. It can only know the past. So when it's seeing the current situation of wherever you are, it's seeing it from a past interpretation, yeah? So for the idea that that's going to become nowness would be, that would be a tough go because it's starting from a past interpretation and it's projecting to the future, yeah? So it's really important, I feel, to highlight what's going on. Because if there's a sense that J is going to become an ever-present body, good luck. Because J only sees from the past and that projects to the future, yeah? So as soon as J's eyes hit something, the head is already interpreting that from a past stance. And so it's already got the thing distorted, essentially, in many ways. It's already got this cup of tea distorted with a past idea that this tea is good. Yeah? So when it drinks this cup of tea, if I'm going on the basis of the mental system that says this tea is good, I'm not tasting this tea, really. I'm just tasting the idea of goodness. Whoa. It is good, though. But you see, it's like that quick in many ways. So all of that mental commentary is self-centeredness. And when it's focused on, it's only seeing from J. Yeah? Now that's the only radio station playing at this in this radio in many ways until it said you're not that radio station and maybe you can stop listening to it a bit. And when you stop listening to it, it quiets down and then some other kind of radio station comes in, which seems to have way better ideas than Jay. Let's call that a higher power or something maybe. Who knows? Hmm. Yeah. So when the head goes, I'm going to stabilize in the now, what is saying that is not you, essentially. Huh? So if there was a method, it would be negation. Whatever pops up in your experience is not you, so you negate that movement as what you are, in a way, because you already are the open space, let's say, of nowness. When the head says, I'm going to become still in the now, that is arising in an open space, which is nowness, which is like an ever present nowness that past and future move through. So you can see all of the self centeredness. And if you walk through your day and say, who is this arising to? Who wants this? Who wants that? This, it always comes back to the word me. And you can hear that word me, or a thought, or even there's a like a felt sense of me-ness. You're aware of that, yeah. So you can really perceive self-centeredness pop up in the space, and it's claiming everything. So it's claiming I'm going to become nowness. Well, it's not, essentially, because it's based on the past projecting to the future, based on its own story. And it's good to see the nature of the wrong, let's say, or the root of the wrong where it begins, yeah. Because then if you approach spiritual practice, it really helps evolve or rotate that spiritual practice into something that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. But trying to make a self-centered thing, which is you, essentially, the idea of you not be self-centered is going to fail because it can't do it. Yeah? This is a dualistic thing. When people hear non-duality, their head claims that message and says, okay, I'm going to become non-dual. But that is not the message of non-duality. What is claiming I'm going to become non-dual is not you. Yeah? So that's what needs to be seen, essentially. Your head is claiming everything in relevance to you, which is self-centeredness. Yeah? Yeah. And it's very obvious. You have thoughts, there's no problem. But your thoughts seem to cause a lot of problems. Yeah. Money is fine, but my money seems to cause a lot of issues for me. Like I want more of it and I don't want you to have it. Hmm? Yeah. Anxiety isn't really a problem, but if it's your anxiety, then it becomes a huge problem. Hmm. So there's a lot of weight seemingly put on that word me. And if we're moving around as that word me, we're going to be tied to everything that's pointing to that word me, which would be all the events, essentially. Yeah. And then self-centeredness goes on. I see that a lot in meditation and embodiment stuff. People are trying to get out of self-centeredness, but they're trying to get out of it as it. And the more that they try to get out of themselves as a self, the more bound they are to it because it's more self-centeredness. So this just goes on and on. Yeah. And yeah, I've seen it take some really bad effects on people, like them going almost crazy. Yeah. You hear stories about people killing themselves and stuff. It's because they're trying to get out of something as they're trying to get out of what they're not, but they're identified as it. And they're trying to get out of self as self, and it's making more self. And then the head is getting even busier and busier and busier and busier. And they don't understand why, because a lot of the people they go see or say, well, just keep meditating. But the more they meditate, the more insane they're going. Because they're not seeing the exact nature of the wrong, which is it's inducing more self-centeredness in their individual sphere. Yeah. And then the more it's like those Chinese finger traps, the more they pull, the tighter it gets. Yeah. And that would all be based on the idea that they are the body. So as the body, you got to change that thing a lot to make it into a not body. Now that will never work, but this is the idea, yeah. So it's important to start from the basis you are not the body. What is doing spiritual practice? Spiritual practice is for what you're not, essentially. Bodhidharma has a really interesting quote. I forget what it is, but it says something like that. Yeah. When you're doing meditation and yoga asana and stuff, those methods are for what you're not, so that you can see through that. Yeah. It's not about becoming a great body. It's softening and settling the body enough that you can inquire into it and see that you're not a body. Yeah. And then the bodiness goes on from its individual sense. Hmm. Yeah. Is there any other thing you want to add on or question or something? It's great. Self-centeredness is highlights so much shit. Go ahead, anybody?
I read about that in a Buddhist book, and it was kind of what you're talking about. It was called Self-Grasping Ignorance in the book, but it was
Uh,
related to what you're talking about.
yeah, okay. Yeah, self-grasping because the mental system is a movement and it will keep moving. Thoughts will keep moving. It's not the problem of thinking, it's the grasping on, which is the idea of being the thinker. Yeah. So that would be called attachment, let's say, or grasping. Yeah. So the movement of self-centeredness is not the problem, it's the grasping onto it. It's like if there's a rope going, like continuously getting pulled and it goes through the hand, there's no problem. Yeah. But as soon as you grab onto that rope, there's a problem. Yeah. Right. So it's really the grasping onto contents of experience, which we call the identification. That's really the bondage of self, is the grasping. Because self, the mental movement of individuality is going. You're not doing that. It's just a conditioned movement. Yes, so that's a great way to like, yeah, it's like, let's say, not grasping, yeah, or not attachment, they would say. But the thing that's not highlighted often is that what is attaching is also not you. Yeah. So there's thoughts going, and then there's the sense of you being the one who sees those thoughts. That is also not you. That's just another thought. Yeah. So the movement that you're not grasping onto is not you, but also what grasps is not you. Yeah. So this is the duality. One is the movement, two is the thing grasping. You are of not two. Yeah. Right. So non-attachment is really what is attaching is you, the sense of you, yeah, but that's not you. That's why the negation is quite important. Because it's easy to see thoughts and go, okay, I'm not thoughts. But the head that's saying I'm not thoughts, that ain't you either. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. That's why people get more self-centered in meditation. Because there's thoughts going and there's a sense that they see those thoughts. Yeah. And then they go, okay, I'm the seer of thoughts. But the drop of relief that they're looking for doesn't happen because as seer of the thought, they're bound to the thought. They don't know that, but that's what's going on. But they're also not the seer of the thought. So that's also seen from before it. You see? So it's quite important. You're not the thoughts that are going, nor are you what's trying to attach to those thoughts. Yeah, that's why Huang Po would say open both hands. Yeah, he doesn't say open one hand and then hold on to the idea of being the one who opens the hand. Yeah, he says open both hands. Yeah, so that's good you bring that up, E, because that's very important. This is the internal duality: thoughts, and then the one who sees them as the thinker. That's a duality. You're not the thoughts, nor are you the thinker of those thoughts, because there is no thinker of those thoughts. It's just a conditioned movement. Mm.
Mm. Now I'm thinking about Yumi and I am that. She would say, I
Ah,
am that. So
yeah. So the thing about it though is you've got to watch the head claim it.
yeah.
So as soon as the head goes, I am that, that's not you claiming that.
It's right, right.
Yeah. If
Yep,
it
here we are
is
again.
you, if the head claims that, which it is claiming it because it claims everything, and you go with it, Your head will say, I am that, meaning like I am the open space of awareness. I am that, I am that, I am that. Yeah. People will feel good for a little bit, but eventually the condition of the head, which goes the other way, and eventually is probably going to say, I am shit, or I am worse than, you're also going to be tied to that movement. Yeah. So if you're tied to the mental idea, I am that open space, you're going to be tied to also, I'm a piece of shit. Also, I'm less than. Also, I'm this. Also, I'm that. Yeah. You can't grab onto one and not grab onto the other because it's a dualistic thing. Yeah. So that thing of I am that, I am the open space of awareness is like an affirmative movement. The problem with it is what is affirming that is not you. Yeah. Yeah. So the thing that's worked best in my experience is negation. So as soon as the head comes up and says, I am that, that gets negated as what I am, essentially. Yeah. So, because you can see your head do it. You can watch your thinking say, I am the open. Yeah. Well, who is I? Well, where's that I in the body? Something's claiming that. And if I'm tied to that, then as soon as the head shifts going and shifts over to the world is terrible, I'm going to go with that thought as well. And then I'm bound. And then when I'm bound to the quote unquote negative thought, the next movement of your head is I need to do more shit to get back to the I am that. Yeah. And then it'll go that way. And then it's like, oh, it's going to go back that way. That is duality. Hmm? And the head will constantly go this way because I see it in my own experience. Wow, today I feel super free. Tomorrow, the Blue Jays lost, and now I'm all fucked up. Yeah. So this is the duality of the head, essentially. Yeah. So if I'm tied to that, I'm tied to that. If I'm tied to the idea that I am God, I'm also tied to the idea that I am shit. And the I am shit one is coming because this is a dualistic experience. Yeah. So the real relief I feel is when I see my head go, I'm really free and I feel like God, I'm negating that movement as much as I'm negating the I am a piece of shit movement because it's two faces of one coin essentially. Yeah. Ramana Maharshi calls it the thief and the policeman. Is these two faces of one coin. Yeah.